Hello, everybody, and welcome to another Lamley Awards 2022 showcase. Tarmac Works is the brand today. It is the category, and it is the first tournament of the 2022 Lamley Awards. This will post on Instagram tomorrow night, Monday night. This 16-car tournament. We've picked 16 of the most significant and quote-unquote best releases of the year, and you're going to determine the best one tournament style on Instagram. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, now is the time to do it at Lamley Group on Instagram, and they'll be hitting the stories tomorrow night. Couple of things. We've chosen 16 cars. I've done this in conjunction with Tarmac Works. Wanted to know, I talked to Felix, who's the co-founder there, what models generated the most buzz on their end, like sales-wise and attention-wise, like what they've seen on their social accounts and everything else. And then also what I kind of saw and what the Lamley contributors saw, and we determined a group of 16 cars to add to this tournament. There'll be some arguable points. There'll be some of you that will see some glaring omissions, but we did the best we can, and we're very excited about this, and we're going to determine the winner tournament style throughout the week. Each week throughout December, we're going to be different tournaments: Hot Wheels, Matchbox, Auto World, Tomic Limited Vintage, Mini GT. Hopefully I'm not forgetting any. And then we're going to culminate with the big 64-car Royal Rumble tournament the week of Christmas to New Year's, where we take all the brands, Hot Wheels, Matchbox, Tarmac, Mini GT, Auto World, throw a bunch of them, what we consider the best all together, and brands that we haven't covered, Inno 64, Johnny Lightning, Greenlight, M2, you name it. They're all going to get in there. Para 64 won last year with their roof Porsche, if you remember. That was pretty cool. And so who knows? It's just going to be a really fun month. So let's get on. Like I said, I talked to Felix. We picked 16 cars. You're going to look at these now. And then tonight, I should mention this, I'm going to randomly seed them. There's not going to be a number 1 versus 16 seed based on popularity. That's way too hard to do. So what I'm going to do is all of them are going to throw them in a hat. I'm going to stream on Instagram tonight. And we're going to pick one. We're going to put it up against another and another and another, and then we'll start the seeding, or we'll start the tournament tomorrow, if that makes sense. So join me on Instagram to seed them tonight, and then we'll be doing some seeding giveaways too. Details on that later. The reason I brought out 2 empty cases is because the cars are out of the cases now for these showcases. But I've showed you, here's the Global 64 box for, I think this is the RX7, right? But I wanted to show you both because I've included this time. I didn't limit it to new models. Or new castings. It was just releases during the year, and we wanted to simplify this. So it's 16 cars, a 16, 8, 4, 2, 1. That's how we determine the winner each day. 24 hours. You'll have 24 hours to vote in each round. But I talked to Tarmac, and I was like, this time I want to include everything that you've released. And so we pulled from the Global 64 line. The Global 64 line, these models are highly detailed, not as detailed as the Hobby 64. But they're more along the lines of what you see from Mini GT. You can roll them. You can they can maybe withstand a little bit of punishment. I wouldn't throw them down a track because they do have like the side mirrors and things like that. But they will roll. There'll be cars that I know American collectors really like because of the way they function. The Hobby 64 line, they come in these more display cases, and these are more for display. This is the Starion. They may or may not roll here. I'll show you right here. Like, they may or may not roll. Starion doesn't, but they are highly, highly detailed with an incredible amount of, multiple pieces, like the antenna there. The wheels are highly detailed. They're really, really done as an exact scale. And because of that, they really are for display. So racing cars, that kind of thing. So you're going to have to try and figure out how to compare the two. It really depends on what you think. You might give points to one because it rolls. You might give points to another just because of how detailed it is. But we'll get to it. 16 models. And let's just start with this. We're going to bookend this with 2 Ferraris. There were 2 different Ferraris that were released this year. Felix said that this was... the fact that they got the Ferrari license, the way they were able to get it, was a big deal. They tried for years to get it, and they finally got it. They can do Ferrari racing cars, and so that's what this one is. This one, we're picking cars that represent the casting. This is the 488 GTE. We chose the hublot version with this striping. Like I said, I'm just going to try and describe it to you, kind of give you a few details on it, but ultimately it's up to you to decide where this fits once it joins the tournament. So that is the Ferrari 488 with the hub lot. I'm going to move these cases out of the way. That's from the Hobby 64. I don't know if the wheels roll or not, but it's highly detailed. It's really cool that Tarmac has that. And the line of Ferraris, if you want to use this one as a representation of the other 488s that have been released, by all means do it, because it's an amazing group of cars. All right, this is from, I actually already showed you the case of it. This is the Vertex RX7, the FD3S. A couple different versions. This is the Apex version, right, that was been released. So we decided to do this one because it has this racing deco. I'll show you. See, these have that, like, maybe a few fewer details, and you know, like some of these pieces are more molded into the casting, but still highly detailed. But these will always roll. That's an important part of that. So maybe it's the RX7 that you're going to add. Here's another one from the Global. They have like Road 64. Anything that's not Global might are going to fall into that Hobby 64 style. Like may or may not roll. Here, this one is from Hobby 64. The wheels kind of roll, but this is the Toyota Supra, the MA70 Toyota Supra. You can see in the close-ups like the details in the wheels here, in the headlights and the taillights. They've done a lot of detailing here. Even though it doesn't have all of the racing deco that you might see on some Hobby 64, it still has like the way the wheels have been done to that precise ratio. Tarmac will determine, you know, based on how they want to interpret the car, what kind of line they want to put it into, and they decided with that one that they want to put it into the Global. Now this one, it even goes beyond Global. This is the Launcha 037 Rally. Not only is it incredibly detailed, I mean, look at this thing with the spare tire on the top, but before I put it on the turntable, this one has the opening rear to show off this highly detailed engine as well. Is that incredible or what? This one actually kind of rolls too. Not great, but it does roll. And you can see just like the incredible amount of detail. Launcha rally cars really were a big feature, or is it like a big highlight this year, from a lot of different brands. Okay, moving that from, I don't know if that was Hobby 64 or whatever, but it was up there. Back to Global. This is a version of the casting that won last year from Tarmac Works. In fact, I think this was, I think the Pagani was a finalist, at least top 4. Might have even finished. Maybe it was the Par 64 that beat a Kaido, but I think it was in the top 4. Was the Pagani Revolution. This is a newer version that was released this year. They continue to be wildly popular from Tarmac Works, a collector favorite. And we just determined of the ones released this year, this blue Revolution, this dark blue, is just super clean and super cool and a great representation of a very popular casting. And I anticipate this one performing very well in the tournament as well. We'll see. We'll see what it goes up against once we do the seeding. Staying in Global 64, this was a casting that got worldwide attention. Maybe not as much in the U.S., but this one is definitely a classic among the worldwide collector set. This is the Vertex Chaser, Toyota Chaser, the JZX 100, I think is what it is. They've done a few. They've worked with Vertex. They've done the S14. We'll get to that in a minute. Obviously the RX7, and now this one, the Toyota Chaser, which is a really clean, has kind of the aftermarket parts. It looks very cool. That might be one that you're going to vote for. Going back to Global, check this thing out. TRD Toyota Hilux. Couple different versions of this one. I love this detailed TRD version. This is one that Felix said they saw at a car show and just had to do it. So they went to Toyota and asked about it, and they were able to get permission to do this casting. The detailing on this thing is just, what do the kids say these days? Sick? Yeah, this is sick. Remember, guys, I'm old. Don't forget that. I do my best. But this thing, just the detailing on it is just magnificent. And that TRD deco seemed to be the best representation of a very cool truck. All right. This one I know a lot of collectors have been really excited about. This is the Gunther Works Porsche. Another cool collaboration with Gunther Works. Tarmac has really pushed the variety. And between the racing and the rally, and then like the deals with Gunther, RWB, I just, they have a very creative, wide open approach, which is kind of cool. So you get really surprised by what they'll do next. And they've just announced Koenigsegg, which is cool too. So, but back to this. This is the Gunther Works Porsche. Just clean. Love the color on this one. A lot of people really dug this one. Cool packaging too. Oh, and this one rolls, even though it's Hobby 64. All right. This one might look familiar. Now, I have to say I might be a little biased on this. This is the Nissan Silvia, the Vertex S14. Several releases. This has been a very, very popular casting for Tarmac Works. And I had to choose the white. I almost didn't because this is the Lamley Group exclusive. But if Tarmac and Lamley are going to do a collaboration, it's going to be a white car. That's what we've determined, as you probably know. And I was like, do I put the Lamley Group car in here? Because I really like the purple and the red and the blue. There's some really cool versions of this that were released this year. But an S14 in white, if it didn't have the Lamley name on it, I wouldn't have been a question. I would have totally picked it. And then I was like, John, stick true to the car that... and I went to the panel, and they all agreed that the white S14, just eliminate the fact that the Lamley Group name is on this, and just considered a representation of the S14. And we just thought the white was the best representation. So I was a little nervous about doing that, but I had to put it in there. Because I liked it. All right, still in global. This is something that Tarmac said. They knew that the 510 wagon would be popular. They didn't know it would be as popular as it has become. There's quite a few that have been released already. I had to do this one. This nice, clean red version with the Watanabe rims and the really cool bike on the roof. This is a nice, cool, refreshing take on a casting that has been used a ton. Maybe next year I'll do a whole 510 wagon feature with all the brands that have done it, that done the 510 wagon. Obviously, Junimize is a big signature piece, but there you go. I really like this. I really like this clean, very stock, but still updated version of the wagon with this incredible, incredible bike on top. Maybe that's the one you're going to choose, and obviously this one, because it's Global 64, it rolls. Back to hobby. Had to. This again, this all stuff came from Felix, these models that were super popular, and this Volvo was one of them from the Hobby 64 line. This is the 240 Turbo. We've seen the Wagon from Hot Wheels. This is the sedan. You know, I just loved, I think of this car, I think of growing up and seeing this car quite a bit. A lot of families that I was with had this car, either the Wagon or the sedan version of it. But to see it updated and very cool, and also get this kind of attention, is kind of neat. So that was one that was a unique choice. We're seeing a lot of Volvo and diecast, which I think is great. It's a great development. Back to Pagani. This is the Wyrid BC. Chose the purple color, but there's several colors that you could choose. Had to go with this one. Another casting that these Paganis are super popular. That's why I'm really excited to see what Tarmac's going to do with Koenigsegg, and how that will play out in almost a battle with Pagani. All right, I already showed you the Starion. Let's see it again. It's the Mitsubishi Starion. I think there's been a couple of versions that they've done. Another model that we're going to see a ton of. From different brands. Auto World has theirs coming out, but Tarmac came with this one. This STP Racing version I thought was the best representation of this casting. Felix mentioned that one of the reasons they did this one is because this was his favorite car as a kid, and he definitely wanted to do it. That's what, you know, when you're in charge of a diecast brand, you can do that stuff. We see that, you know, and why not? If you're passionate about a car, make sure it gets done, because we'll feel that passion in that model when it's released. I think we've seen that several different times. All right, this is the complete opposite. Back to global. This is the Land Rover Defender 110. This has been a popular casting worldwide as well, the new version of the Defender 110, and this was the color that we had to go with in terms of the representation. Is this really cool kind of bronze color with the very modern 5-spokes on it. It's just a cool look, kind of a good representation of like the updated, or the kind of the new look of the Land Rover Defenders. That's a really nice one. Two more, also from the Hobby 64 line. This one is fairly new. This is the Supra. Just came out, but again, showcasing Tarmac Works level of detail in the Hobby 64 line. May not roll, but it's got an incredible amount of detail if displaying is what you want to do. Factor that in. And I've said that, and I'll keep saying in this video. If you don't like the fact that they roll, don't vote for it. If you like the fact that this is about as precise a replica as you can get in 164, in terms of look at the detailing of the wheels and all of the rest of it. I mean the hood, all of this stuff, the spoiler, the fact that they'll go more precise. These cars become a little more fragile. They don't roll, but man, the detail, the level of detailing, that's what they get by sacrificing some of those other things. And that might be what you like, and it might be what you don't. And that's why this Tarmac Works tournament is going to be an interesting one to see that. So that is the Supra. And then I said we're going to bookend with Ferraris. We showed you the 488. Here's the 458 GT3. We chose a Momo, but there's several other decos that you could do. It was hard to choose the one we wanted to, but the Momo seemed to be kind of a signature look for this racing Ferrari. Same kind of thing, an incredible amount of detail in the spoiler, in the wheels, in the interior, and of course the racing decos on it are super just complete in how they've done it. There you go, 16 cars. I'll be on Instagram tonight to seed these random drawing. We'll see who's going up against each other. It'll be a fun one to see, and it'll be a royal battle for sure throughout the week. Thanks, everybody. I want to know your comments. You can definitely leave them before, like what you like the best, but we'll see what happens as it plays out in tournament fashion throughout the week. Thanks, everybody. Bye.